Introduction to photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process by which green plants trap light energy and use it to produce carbohydrates. Light's the form of electromagnetic radiation which travels in waves. There is a huge range of electromagnetic radiation falling on the Earth from space. It all travels at the speed of light but differs in its wavelength. White light is made of all colours of the visible spectrum. We can demonstrate that white light is made up of all the colours of the spectrum by passing it through a prism. When light strikes something, that light can either be absorbed, reflected, or transmitted. The wine absorbed light because it contained a pigment. Paints contain pigment. The colour of the paint depends on which colour or colours it absorbs, and the colour of a pigment depends on the colour of light it does not absorb. Plant leaves also contain pigments. These pigments can absorb many colours of light, but leaves are green because the one colour they do not absorb is green. When a beam of white light passes through a pigment, some of the colours are absorbed. The resultant spectrum is called an absorption spectrum. The spectrum produced has black bands which correspond to any colour that has been absorbed by the pigment. This can be observed when passing white light through a sample of leaf pigments. And there is the absorption spectrum of those leaf pigments. Most of the absorbed light is in the blue and red parts of the spectrum. Chlorophyll appears green because it does not absorb green light, but reflects and transmits it. The degree of absorption of each of the leaf pigments, chlorophylls A and B, and the carotenoids can be measured using a spectrometer. This can also be plotted on a graph to show each pigment's absorption spectrum. And here is the graph of absorption spectra of leaf pigments. An action spectrum, however, charts the effectiveness of different wavelengths of light in bringing about photosynthesis. And here is an action spectrum of leaf pigments. A close correlation is found between the two spectra. Absorption of certain wavelengths by the leaf pigments is crucial for photosynthesis. Chlorophylls A and B absorb light mainly in the blue and red regions of the spectrum. Having different pigments absorb light of different wavelengths is an advantage to plants because it extends the range of wavelengths that a plant can use for photosynthesis. Accessory pigments such as carotenoids and xanthophylls absorb different wavelengths of light and pass the energy onto chlorophyll.